country music. It's the soundtrack of America's heartland, filled with tales of love, loss, and life on the backroads. But beneath the rhinestones and honky-tonk melodies lies something far stranger than any ballad could capture. A world where legends die under mysterious circumstances, where beloved stars hide shocking secrets, and where the truth sounds crazier than fiction. From plane crashes with eerie premonitions to plastic surgery disasters that changed faces forever, the theories surrounding country music's biggest names are absolutely wild. And here's the kicker. Some of these crazy stories are actually backed by real evidence. Today, we're diving deep into every crazy country music legend theory that refuses to fade away. Because sometimes the truth behind the music is absolutely insane. And some of these wild theories, they're actually supported by documented facts. Our journey begins with the father of modern country music himself. Hank Williams didn't just change country music, he invented it. But his death on New Year's Day, 1953, remains one of music's most debated mysteries. The official story says Williams died of heart failure in the backseat of a Cadillac on his way to a show in Canton, Ohio. He was just 29 years old, but the circumstances surrounding his final hours read less like a tragedy and more like a crime scene that was never properly investigated. Here's what actually happened. Williams was in terrible shape, suffering from spina bifida that caused him lifelong chronic pain. His alcohol and drug use had become severe. On December 30, 1952, a 17-year-old college student named Charles Carr was hired to drive Williams from Montgomery, Alabama to his scheduled performances. But Williams never made it. When they stopped at a gas station in Oak Hill, West Virginia, Carr discovered Williams dead in the back seat. Now here's where it gets strange. The autopsy was performed by a man named Ivan Malinin, a Russian immigrant whose medical credentials and English language skills were reportedly limited. Critically, no toxicology tests were conducted, despite Williams being found with prescription medication for chloral hydrate, a powerful sedative that can be lethal when combined with alcohol. Then there's Toby Marshall, Williams's so-called doctor. Marshall had purchased fraudulent medical credentials. He'd prescribed Williams chloral hydrate shortly before the death, and had instructed another doctor to inject Williams with morphine and vitamin B12 on his final night. Witnesses reported conflicting accounts of Williams' condition throughout the trip. Some said he was already dead when porters carried him to the car in Knoxville. Others claimed Carr stopped at multiple locations before reporting Williams' death, acting nervous and erratic. A Tennessee highway patrolman named Swan Kitts reported that Williams was lifeless as they put clothes on him at the hotel. The autopsy report also documented that Williams had bruising consistent with being beaten. He'd reportedly been in a bar fight in Montgomery days before the trip, though questions remain about the timing of these injuries. Most significantly, Billie Jean Jones, Williams's widow, publicly stated she never believed the heart attack explanation. When Marshall tried to collect payment for his services after Williams's death, Jones refused. Marshall later stated under oath that he believed Williams may have intentionally overdosed. The question many researchers still ask: if Williams died with a fake doctor's prescriptions in his system and morphine injections administered hours before, why wasn't there a more thorough investigation? Why no toxicology tests? These unanswered questions have kept the mystery alive for over 70 years. The circumstances of Hank Williams' death remain a subject of debate among music historians, not necessarily suggesting murder, but certainly raising questions about medical negligence and the adequacy of the investigation. If you think the mysterious circumstances of Hank Williams' death are crazy, wait until you hear what happened to the woman who would become country music's most iconic female voice. Because her story involves documented premonitions, ignored warnings, and a plane crash that friends say she predicted, Patsy Cline was more than a singer. She was a force of nature. With hits like Crazy and Walkin' After Midnight, she became one of country music's most powerful voices in the early 1960s. But according to multiple friends, Cline expressed a sense of impending doom in the months before her death. According to friends like Dottie West, June Carter Cash, and Loretta Lynn, Cline told them she didn't expect to live much longer. This wasn't baseless anxiety. Cline had already survived 2 serious accidents. In 1961, she'd been in a devastating head-on car collision that threw her through the windshield and left her hospitalized for a month. Friends reported she told them afterward that a third accident would be her last. On March 3, 1963, despite being sick with the flu, Cline performed at a benefit show in Kansas City. Her final song was hauntingly titled, "I'll Sail My Ship Alone." After the show, Dottie West offered Cline a ride home. 16-hour drive back to Nashville. The weather was terrible, but Cline refused. "Don't worry about me, Hoss," she told West. "When it's my time to go, it's my time to go." The next day, March 5, 1963, Cline boarded a small Piper Comanche aircraft with fellow country stars Hawkshaw Hawkins and Cowboy Copas. The pilot was Randy Hughes, Cline's manager. Records show Hughes had limited flight experience and wasn't instrument rated, meaning he wasn't qualified to fly safely in poor weather conditions. They stopped to refuel in Dyersburg, Tennessee, where the airport manager warned them about the dangerous weather and suggested they spend the night. Hughes refused. They took off at 6:07 p.m. into a storm. 13 minutes later, the plane crashed at full speed into the woods near Camden, Tennessee. Everyone died instantly. Cline's wristwatch, found at the scene, had stopped at 6:20 p.m. She was 30 years old. Here's what makes this story so unsettling. In the months before her death, friends reported that Cline had been giving away personal belongings. She'd written her will on Delta Airlines stationery. She'd asked close friends to take care of her children if anything happened to her. Whether this was genuine premonition or anxiety from past trauma, the behavior was documented by those closest to her. Some have speculated Cline faked her death, though this has been thoroughly debunked by crash investigators and documentation. What remains unexplained to skeptics is Cline's documented behavior in the months before the crash, behavior that friends interpreted as preparation for death. Was it intuition, trauma response, or simply coincidence viewed through the lens of tragedy? After the crash, the scene was reportedly not properly secured, and personal items went missing before authorities could catalog everything. Cline's dress from her final performance was never recovered, nor was money from her last show. To this day, a memorial stands at the crash site in the remote woods outside Camden. A bell tower erected by Loretta Lynn and Dottie West plays hymns daily at 6 p.m., the hour of Cline's death. The official investigation concluded the crash was caused by pilot error and adverse weather conditions. But the documented warnings ignored and Cline's reported statements about her own death paint a picture that continues to fascinate music historians. And if you thought a tragedy preceded by eerie statements was chilling, buckle up, because the next legend on our list has a documented history of fabricating his own redemption story. And the lies he told might shock you. Johnny Cash, the Man in Black. An icon of rebellion, redemption, and raw authenticity. But Cash's documented history reveals he fabricated key parts of his redemption story, and the truth is far more complicated than the legend suggests. Let's start with what's verified. Cash struggled with severe drug addiction for years. He and Waylon Jennings were known for their substance use, with Cash openly discussing in later interviews how drugs nearly destroyed him. But here's what's actually crazy about Cash's story. He documented false narratives about his own life. For years, Cash told a famous story about crawling deep into a Tennessee cave system called Nickajack Cave, lying down to die and experiencing divine intervention. He claimed God spoke to him, and when he emerged, June Carter and his mother were waiting with a basket of food. This story appeared in his autobiography and was repeated in interviews as the moment of his salvation. Biographers later discovered this story was fabricated. The cave would have been flooded on the date Cash claimed this occurred, and documented evidence shows he continued using drugs long after this supposed moment of redemption. Cash essentially created a fictional turning point to support his narrative of religious transformation. Then there's his relationship with June Carter. While later years portrayed it as one of music's great love stories, the beginning was controversial. When their affair began, Cash was married to Vivian Liberto. According to Liberto's later accounts, Cash gave June Carter co-writing credit for Ring of Fire for financial and personal reasons, despite questions about her actual contribution to the song's composition. But perhaps the most documented controversy involves Cash's role in a massive forest fire. In 1965, Cash's camper caught fire during a fishing trip in Los Padres National Forest in California. The fire destroyed 508 acres and burned the foliage off 3 mountains. It also drove away 49 of the refugees' 53 endangered California condors. When questioned in court about why he started the fire, Cash gave a response that was recorded in court documents. "I didn't do it, my truck did, and it's dead, so you can't question it." Cash paid a fine, but the incident remained controversial throughout his career. There's also a theory that gained some traction online: the Johnny Cash is still alive conspiracy. Some claim he faked his death in 2003, pointing to alleged sightings and interpreting his later songs as messages. Of course, this ignores the well-documented progression of Cash's health problems and his very public final years. But the theory exists because Cash had proven he was willing to fabricate in significant parts of his own story. Cash also had a connection to tragedy involving property. He purchased Roy Orbison's former lakefront property in Hendersonville, Tennessee, the site where Orbison's house had burned down years earlier, taking the lives of his 2 young sons. Cash created an orchard there as a tribute. Years after both Cash and June died in 2007, the Cash home on that property also burned to the ground when workers accidentally started a fire while refinishing floors. The documented truth about Johnny Cash is that he was a complex figure who deliberately crafted false narratives about his own life to support a redemption story that resonated with audiences. He wasn't a saint or purely a sinner, but someone who understood the power of mythology and used it to his advantage. But if Cash's documented fabrications involve his redemption story, our next Legends mystery involves something she's kept hidden for 50 years. Because when your entire public persona is built on an image that never changes, people start to wonder what you're hiding. And in Dolly Parton's case, what she might be hiding is literally covered by fabric. When's the last time you saw Dolly Parton in short sleeves? Think about it. Over a 50-year career spanning thousands of public appearances, she's maintained an incredibly consistent wardrobe choice that sparked one of country music's most persistent theories. The theory: Dolly Parton has extensive tattoos covering her arms and possibly other parts of her body. It started in 2006 when, at a 9 to 5 anniversary event, photographers captured what appeared to be a butterfly tattoo visible through Dolly's white satin blouse. The speculation intensified from there. Comedian Roseanne Barr added fuel to the fire in 2011 when she stated in an interview that Dolly showed her extensive tattoos. "She's got all these awesome tattoos all over her body," Barr claimed, describing them as pastel-colored designs including bows. Actress Jennifer Saunders shared a similar story, claiming she witnessed Dolly reveal tattoos of angels, butterflies, and flowers during a restaurant encounter in Los Angeles. The theory became so widespread that even Scarlett Johansson weighed in at the premiere of Fly Me to the Moon in 2024, telling reporters she believes Dolly has full tattooed sleeves. So what has Dolly actually confirmed? She's acknowledged having tattoos, but she's been strategic about revealing details. In interviews, she's confirmed having butterflies, ribbons, bows, beehives, and an angel design, all done in light pastel colors rather than traditional black ink. Here's Dolly's explanation. "My tattoos are pretty, they're artful, and they usually started out to cover some scar." She stated that she has fair skin that scars easily, with scars turning purple. After medical procedures, including one where she needed a feeding tube that left scarring on her side, she used tattoos as camouflage. She covered that particular scar with a small beehive tattoo with a bee on top. However, theorists remain skeptical of the just covering scars explanation. They note that Dolly maintains her long-sleeve wardrobe even in intense heat and situations where short sleeves would be more practical. Over 50 years of fame, she's been remarkably consistent in keeping her arms covered. The theory persists partly because Dolly herself has playfully encouraged it, joking, "Who knows, I may get some later. I may just have to get covered with tattoos just so everybody could be right." Whether Dolly has a few small tattoos covering scars or extensive body art hidden beneath her signature style, the mystery illustrates something important. She's a master of controlling her narrative and image. She reveals only what she chooses, when she chooses. And if maintaining that mystery means keeping her arms covered for half a century, that's exactly what she'll do. The tattoo theory may be relatively harmless, but it reveals how carefully Dolly manages every aspect of her public persona. But if Dolly's mystery is about what's hidden beneath fabric, our next legend story is about what happened when he tried to change what everyone could see. And Kenny Rogers' decision led to a transformation so shocking, it became a cautionary tale known worldwide. Kenny Rogers was a legend with a career spanning decades. The Gambler, Islands in the Stream, Lucille. He sold over 100 million records. But in the late 1990s, Rogers made a decision that would become one of entertainment's most visible plastic surgery disasters. Rogers underwent extensive facial plastic surgery, and the results were dramatically different from his previous appearance. Rogers was open about his motivation. As younger stars emerged, he felt pressure to maintain relevance. During a career pause, he decided to have facial work done, including an eyelid lift. The results were striking. Rogers' appearance changed significantly. His eyebrows were raised higher, his eyelids appeared tighter, and his eyes had a noticeably different shape. The transformation was so dramatic it became a frequent topic of discussion in entertainment media. Rogers himself expressed regret about the procedures. "I'm not happy about it," he told People magazine in 2006, specifically mentioning that the work around his eyelids felt too tight. Here's what makes this story interesting. Rogers mentioned his surgeon was well known and highly sought after, and that the surgeon had specific aesthetic preferences about eye positioning. However, Rogers never publicly identified this surgeon. This has led to speculation about why he protected the surgeon's identity despite his public dissatisfaction with the results. Dolly Parton, Rogers' longtime friend and duet partner, would tease him about the procedures. Rogers recalled in 2013 that Dolly used to say, "Look, old Kenny's been to Jiffy Suck again." Parton later commented that Rogers had grown into his facelift as he aged and his skin naturally loosened over time. Rogers became a widely cited example of dramatic plastic surgery results in the entertainment industry. He later admitted part of his decision was made during a time when he had the resources and time available. "I had the money to do it and I had time off, and I regret that," he said. Rogers died in 2020 of natural causes. His transformation became a lasting example discussed in conversations about cosmetic procedures and celebrity image management. If you think Kenny Rogers' facial transformation was extreme, the final theory we're covering might be the craziest of all. Because Garth Brooks isn't accused of bad plastic surgery or fabricating stories. The internet has accused him of something far darker, and this theory has taken on a life completely beyond anyone's control. Let's be absolutely clear from the start. Garth Brooks is not a serial killer. There is zero credible evidence linking him to any crimes whatsoever. Law enforcement has never investigated him. No legitimate journalist has found actual evidence. But the internet theory accusing him has become so widespread and detailed that it's become a significant part of internet culture. It all started with comedian Tom Segura. In 2018, Brooks released a tour announcement video where he said, "Let's get physical playing music," with what Segura described as a serial killer smile. Segura joked on his podcast Your Mom's House that Brooks looked like someone who had killed multiple people. The joke went viral. Hard. Fans began jokingly creating elaborate evidence by cross-referencing Brooks' tour dates with missing person reports. They made heat maps and noted Brooks' extensive touring schedule. The humor escalated to the point where fans regularly comment, "Where are the bodies, Garth?" on his social media posts. People point to several aspects of Brooks' career as part of the joke. First, his extraordinarily extensive touring schedule. Brooks performed in more cities and towns than most country artists, including international dates. Second, there's Brooks' 1999 alter ego experiment, Chris Gaines. Brooks released an entire album under this fictional rock star persona, complete with a completely different visual style and musical genre. While this was a legitimate artistic project for a planned film, it's become fodder for jokes about dual identities. Third, Brooks's response to the meme. Despite years of "Where are the bodies, Garth?" comments, Brooks rarely addresses the joke directly. Comedian Tom Segura, who started the joke, revealed Brooks blocked him on Instagram. Brooks has never publicly laughed it off or fully engaged with the internet phenomenon, which has only made the meme grow stronger. Author Matt Cox even wrote a satirical book examining the theory, framing it as an investigation. The book was entertainment, not actual accusation, but it shows how far the joke has evolved. Some versions of the joke attempt to map specific cases to Brooks's tour dates, looking for overlaps between missing persons cases and his performance schedule. But here's the reality that needs to be stated clearly. Garth Brooks performed in hundreds of cities over decades. Missing persons cases occur constantly across America. Finding overlaps between any major touring artist's schedule and crime statistics is statistically inevitable. This is a textbook example of confirmation bias, where people look for patterns while ignoring the overwhelming majority of data that doesn't fit. So why does this internet joke persist? Because Garth Brooks has a squeaky clean public image, which makes the absurd inversion, imagining him as something dark, amusing to internet culture. The Chris Gaines persona adds an element of real strangeness to his career history. And Brooks's choice not to engage with the joke has inadvertently given it more attention. The Garth Brooks serial killer theory is purely an internet meme that demonstrates how online culture creates and sustains jokes that can take on weight through repetition. It's also a reminder that in the age of true crime fascination, even obviously false jokes can spread widely. Brooks is not a killer, but he is the subject of one of country music's most bizarre internet phenomena, showing how a comedian's joke can evolve into a crowdsourced meme that becomes impossible to completely dispel. Country music legends and wild theories go together like whiskey and heartbreak. From Hank Williams' death under questionable circumstances involving fraudulent medical credentials and missing toxicology tests, to Patsy Cline's documented statements about her own death before a plane crash with an underqualified pilot, to Johnny Cash's confirmed fabrication of his redemption story, these tales reveal something deeper about how we construct legends. Dolly Parton's confirmed tattoos and mysterious wardrobe choices remind us that sometimes careful image management creates its own intrigue. Kenny Rogers' documented plastic surgery regrets show the very public price of cosmetic procedures. And Garth Brooks' serial killer meme demonstrates how internet culture can turn a comedian's joke into a phenomenon that takes on a life of its own. Are these theories true? Some are based on documented facts that raise legitimate questions. Others are internet memes or speculation built on partial truths. But they all serve a purpose. They add complexity to carefully crafted public images and remind us that the people we idolize are far more complicated than the songs they sing. The truth about country music legends is they're people who made choices, kept some things private, and sometimes died under circumstances that left questions. The theories we create around them say as much about our fascination with mystery and our need for stories that go deeper than the surface. So the next time you hear a Hank Williams song or see Dolly Parton in her signature long sleeves, remember, there's often more to the story. Some of it's documented fact, some of it's speculation, and some of it's pure internet culture. Because in country music, the legend can become as important as the truth. And sometimes the documented facts are crazy enough on their own. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed diving into these wild theories and documented mysteries, hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more stories about the unexpected side of fame coming your way. Until next time, keep questioning, keep researching, and remember, sometimes the truth really is stranger than fiction.